Okay, so a lot of buzz is going on about this mega church in Springfield, Missouri, where Pastor Lindell kicks off the pastor Mark Driscoll from the podium, who prays about the Jezebel spirit that entered the performance of the male stripper that uh, I guess he pretty much started the whole men's conference for the weekend that kicked off this men's conference. Now, there's a lot of commentary about this, and I lived in that area, so I'm familiar with James River, that area of where this church is located. And ironically, there's a little bit of controversy about that region being a little bit more lenient, I would say left leaning in that region. But with that said, this is really launching into something that I think is bigger than anything I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like this encouraged or anything like this sexual nature of this, well, obviously profound performance done in a church atmosphere. There's a lot of the questions about this mega church in itself. So let's get into it. The Pastor Driscoll, Mark Driscoll, if you have subscribed to his channel, I would. I did, and I watched some of his sermons. He's really into deliverance, and he gets into spiritual warfare type of conversations in his speeches and his sermons. So he's very knowledgeable about what's going on. And that was definitely what was going on, is that the Jezebel spirit, he gets into a very lengthy sermon about it. And Pastor Driscoll is the one that got kicked off for praying. He does this on a regular basis. This is his routine. He prays and he kneels before the congregation before he does his sermon. But Pastor Lindell, who was leading the conference, who was in charge of the conference, felt that he should have gone to him about it before he went into his sermon or speech, more or less. So he publicly rebuked Pastor Driscoll for even mentioning the stripper going before the stage. Talk about flipping the coin on this. So he went on and made this a bullet pulpit about it. So when he kicked them off stage, they said that, well, not they, not the congregation quite yet, but he said he was in the wrong. And the church responded, said, "You're out of line." The church was outraged by what Pastor Lindell did. So I have a link about Cap Chatfield, who responds and reacts to this. There's a lot of links and information about what men are reacting to what happened at this performance. Let's just say years ago, when we used to go frequent the strip club industry or hang out, this isn't something you bring into the church at all. This isn't something you bring to your kids to. This isn't something you entertain at all, especially not in a church. So I'm going to just say I rebuke what Pastor Lindell did. I think that the church is no place for this, not at all. There's so many questions about what's going to happen. I want to know what the outcome will be, but Pastor Mark Driscoll has my support. But it's not even just that. It's just where in the world, because where in where what's going on in the mind of a pastor Lindell, is he trying to attract a different crowd? Is he trying to get money? I mean, what was his objective by having a stripper in a church atmosphere? Like, what was his objective there? Like, is he trying to save people from the strip club industry and bring them into church? Like, there's no common sense whatsoever in this. So you can determine for yourself. I would love to hear your comments on what you think. It's a rebuke. It is absolutely outrageous what happened. And the fact that he got kicked off, that being Pastor Mark Driscoll getting kicked off, the whole congregation of men at the conference were outraged. Most of the men responded and reacted like as if they were on the side of Mark Driscoll. So I think this was a great reaction that following Pastor Lindell kicking off Pastor Mark Driscoll, the reaction was actually positive for Pastor Mark Driscoll. Mark Driscoll being the one to call out the Jezebel spirit and the stripper, not per se, but the Jezebel spirit that entered the whole thing. He does a sermon series on this about the Jezebel spirit. If you check him out, he's on YouTube. It's very enlightening and you will get a lot out of it. If I can find it, I'll link it to the description box too. Very interesting topic, very worth my mentioning. And I will link the Cap Chatfield interview in commentary. It's worth listening to. He couldn't stop in the video, believe me. It was well worth watching. Thank you for watching.